Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Kurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump says suspect in White House press dinner shooting wrote an anti-Christian declaration and is a sick guy. Authorities say he was targeting top officials. Iran continues to strengthen relations with key partners. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi heads to Russia as peace talks with the US remain stalled. Trump says Iran can phone if it wants to talk. India-New Zealand to sign free trade agreement on Monday. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal says FTA aims to double bilateral trade to also provide Indian exporters 100% duty-free access. Sebastian Sawe breaks 2-hour barrier to make history in London Marathon. Kenyan wins the men's race in 1 hour, 59 minutes, 30 seconds. And on to the details now. US President Donald Trump and officials in his administration were the likely targets of a suspect who fired on a security agent guarding the White House Correspondents Association dinner in Washington. President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance were rushed out of the room by security. Trump posted surveillance footage of the gunman attempting to sprint past a checkpoint. The suspect, identified as 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen of Torrance, California, was arrested at the scene on Saturday evening and was being questioned before he is due to appear in court on Monday. Also, U.S. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has said on Sunday the suspect will be charged in federal court on Monday with assault of a federal officer, discharging a firearm and attempting to kill a federal officer, adding he did not know if there was an Iran connection to the attack. Blanche said the alleged gunman's motive is still under investigation, but that preliminary findings suggest he was targeting administration officials. Well, President Trump said on Sunday that the suspect had an anti-Christian manifesto and a lot of hatred in his heart, but was stopped well short of the hotel ballroom. Trump also said that the suspect was a sick guy and that his family previously expressed concerns about him to law enforcement officials. Well, the Latin American leaders took to social media on Sunday to condemn the shooting at the White House Correspondents Association dinner night. Around the world, leaders condemned the attack and expressed relief that President Trump and all present were safe, demonstrating solidarity with the United States. Also, U.S. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche posted a letter from the Department of Justice on Sunday insisting that a lawsuit preventing the construction of Trump's proposed White House ballroom be dropped for security reasons after a shooting incident on Saturday at an event Trump was attending. Following the incident, Trump has said the shooting proves the need for the White House ballroom. In a 10-page order, U.S. District Judge modified the wording of an injunction he issued on March 31st that had ordered construction to stop. On April 16th, a federal judge again ruled that Trump's plan to build the ballroom without congressional approval was unlawful, faulting the Republican president for asserting that national security requirements demanded the project move forward. The National Trust for Historic Preservation, a nonprofit charged by Congress to help preserve historic buildings, sued the administration, asserting Trump exceeded his authority when he raised the historic White House East Wing last October and began construction of the planned 90,000 square foot ballroom, which is costing more than $400 million and being funded by corporate donors. And US President Donald Trump said on Sunday Iran could telephone if it wants to negotiate an end to their 2-month war and stressed it can never have a nuclear weapon. Trump's response came after Tehran said the US should remove obstacles to a deal, including its blockade of Iran's ports. Early on Saturday, Trump scrapped a planned trip to Islamabad by his envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Asked whether cancelling signaled renewed fighting, Trump said, "No, it doesn't mean that." Also, Iran's foreign minister headed to Russia on Sunday as peace efforts between Tehran and Washington hung in the balance. On Saturday, Arakchi met Pakistan's military chief Asim Munir, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar before travelling to Oman and returning to Islamabad. Arakchi met with the Sultan of Oman, Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, on Sunday. Arakchi said Al Said discussed the latest developments in the region, mediation efforts and endeavours aimed at ending conflicts, according to the agency. Now, Arakchi later left for Russia for talks with senior officials, and according to the Iranian ambassador, Arakchi is expected to meet President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg on Monday. Well, Lebanon has claimed that Israeli strikes on the country's south on Sunday killed 14 people, the deadliest day since a ceasefire in the Israel-Hezbollah war came into force over a week ago. This comes as Israel issued new evacuation notices for areas in southern Lebanon, ramping up the conflict with Hezbollah. These towns are not part of the new buffer zone. Earlier, Israel and the Iran-backed group traded fresh accusations of breaching the fragile truce, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying the military was vigorously targeting Hezbollah and the group, vowing to keep responding to violations. Though Hezbollah rejected allegations that it is undermining the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire, on Sunday, Israel's military said that one of its soldiers was killed during combat in southern Lebanon and 6 were wounded, 4 of them severely. And President Mahmoud Abbas won most races in Palestinian municipal elections on Sunday in a vote that for the first time in nearly 2 decades included a city in the Gaza Strip run by rival Hamas. Now, Saturday's ballot marked the first elections of any kind in Gaza since 2006 and the first Palestinian polls since the Israel-Hamas war began more than 2 years ago with Hamas's cross-border attack on southern Israel on October 7, 2023. Now, Abbas's West Bank-based Palestinian Authority said the inclusion of the Gaza city, Deir al-Balah, which suffered less damage than other areas of the coastal territory during the war, was intended to show that Gaza was an inseparable part of a future Palestinian state. Palestinian Prime Minister Mahmoud Mustafa described the vote as an expression of the national will of the Palestinian people. Fatah's main rival, Hamas, which still controls around half of the Gaza Strip, did not participate in the elections. Palestinian city and village councils are responsible for essential services such as water, sanitation and local infrastructure, but they do not have legislative authority. And moving on to national elections in Israel, Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid and former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett announced a new political alliance in Herzliya on Sunday, aiming to challenge Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. Now, describing the partnership as a patriotic step for a fateful period, the leaders unveiled a platform focused on national unity and significant policy reforms. Bennett outlined key pledges for a potential administration, including the establishment of a state commission of inquiry into the October 7th attacks, the implementation of universal military service, and a proposal to limit prime ministerial tenure to 8 years. He also maintained a hardline security stance, vowing to safeguard the lands of the country. Lapid, the current opposition leader, urged the Israeli center to rally behind Bennett, characterizing him as a law-abiding alternative to the current leadership. And Russia and North Korea have agreed to long-term military cooperation as Moscow's military chief visited officials in Pyongyang. Russia's Defense Minister Andrei Belousov said Moscow and North Korea have agreed to establish long-term stable military cooperation. He added that Russia is prepared to sign a cooperation plan for 2027 to 2031 within this year. In 2024, the two countries signed a pact to provide each other with military support. Well, Belousov also awarded North Korean troops who had fought alongside Russian forces against Ukraine in the Kursk region. Pyongyang has sent thousands of troops as well as missiles and munitions to support Russia in the Ukraine conflict. Well, a Syrian court conducted the first hearing on Sunday in the trial of ousted ruler Bashar al-Assad and senior figures from his government who will be tried in absentia. The proceedings mark the beginning of preparations for the trials of Assad, his brother and other prominent figures such as former security official Atif Najib. Najib previously headed Syria's political security branch in the southern province of Daraa, where Syria's 2011 uprising first erupted. Now, Syria's 13-year civil war killed more than 500,000 people and displaced millions of others. Tens of thousands of people disappeared, some into the country's brutal prison system. Well, the regional Al-Qaeda affiliate Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal-Muslimin cooperated with a Tuareg-dominated rebel group to carry out simultaneous attacks in over half a dozen places across the country. There was no word from the junta leader, General Assimi Goita, who's not been since seen when the attacks began. Government troops were still fighting in some parts of the country, but the loss of Defense Minister represented a serious blow to the administration. Well, the residents in Ghana and Ivory Coast expressed shock and sadness after attacks in Mali and reports of Defense Minister Sadio Kamara's death. Some residents said instability in one country affects the wider region, and others called for stronger regional cooperation and a united effort by ECOWAS to address and eliminate the violence. And moving on, in Miami, a gathering of Cuban Americans called for political change in Cuba despite rainy weather. Attendees displayed Cuban flags and themed clothing, held signs and watched or listened to speeches and performances, with many taking shelter from the rain. Several participants referenced personal ties to Cuba and their experiences leaving the country. Others expressed hope for political change and concern for those still on the island. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Nearly a decade of Prime Minister Modi's UDAN scheme launch, transforming Indian aviation, bringing affordable flights and connecting small towns. Campaigning ends for West Bengal Assembly election 2026 Phase 2 today as Prime Minister Modi and senior BJP leaders step up outreach. And in the Indian Premier League, Kolkata beat Lucknow in super over thriller.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. India and New Zealand will sign a free trade agreement on Monday in New Delhi in the presence of India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment Todd McClay. The agreement, finalized in December 2025 after negotiations that began in March the same year, is aimed at boosting trade ties and expanding economic engagement between the two countries. Well, the agreement is expected to provide duty-free access for Indian exports to New Zealand, opening up significant opportunities for domestic industries. The agreement includes provisions to facilitate services trade, including a temporary employment visa pathway for Indian professionals. It also includes professionals such as Ayush practitioners, yoga instructors, Indian chefs and music teachers, aimed at strengthening workforce mobility between the two countries. The agreement will remove tariffs on 100% of India's exports to New Zealand and either sharply reduce or remove tariffs on 95% of current imports from New Zealand. The agreement is also expected to strengthen economic resilience and support inclusive growth aligned with India's national priorities. New Zealand has committed to investing $20 billion in India over the next 15 years across sectors such as manufacturing, infrastructure, services and innovation, with a focus on job creation. And also, New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has called the free trade agreement between the two nations a once-in-a-generation agreement that will open access to one of the world's largest markets for Kiwi exporters. In a video message on social media, the New Zealand Prime Minister highlighted the scale of the opportunity, stating, and I quote, "We are signing a free trade deal with India that opens one of the biggest markets in the world to Kiwi exporters," unquote. Calling the agreement big win, Luxon said it would help expand exports across key sectors. Well, ahead of the signing of the India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment Todd McClay on Sunday visited the iconic Taj Mahal in Agra. Goyal said that McClay's visit marks a defining moment in the partnership between the two countries. He added that the agreement aims to significantly boost trade between the two countries by allowing nearly 100% of Indian goods to enter New Zealand duty-free. The FTA will be signed on Monday in New Delhi.
भारत और न्यूजीलैंड के बीच जो द्विपक्षीय व्यापार समझौता न्यूजीलैंड के वाणिज्य मंत्री टॉड मैकले और मेरे बीच कई वर्षों से बातचीत के बाद तय हुआ, जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी और न्यूजीलैंड के प्रधानमंत्री क्रिस्टोफर लक्सन दोनों के बीच फाइनल हुआ, उसको कल साइन करने जा रहे हैं। उसको मोहर लग जाएगी कल, और कुछ ही महीनों में फिर वो भारत और न्यूजीलैंड के बीच बड़े पैमाने पे व्यापार भी बढ़ाने का एक साधन बनेगा। लगभग 100% जो भारत से सामान न्यूजीलैंड जाते हैं वो बिना कोई कर के, बिना कोई इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी के वहां पे पहुंच पाएगा।
The free trade agreement that we will sign tomorrow in New Delhi is significant. It is one of the best in the world. It was the fastest negotiated. We've shown everybody all around the world when the two like-minded countries come together, great things can happen for our citizens.
Well, the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on Sunday met UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and discussed measures to deepen the comprehensive strategic partnership and the regional situation. The Indian Embassy in the UAE said Doval conveyed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's greetings to the UAE leader during his official visit to the Arab country. It added that the measures to deepen comprehensive strategic partnership, the regional situation and other issues of mutual interest were discussed. Earlier this month, Doval met Saudi Arabia's senior leaders and discussed bilateral relations, the regional situation and other areas of mutual interest. While campaigning for the second and final phase of the West Bengal Assembly election 2026 ends today, with voting scheduled to take place across 142 constituencies on Wednesday. Now, the senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a rally in Barrackpur today, while Home Minister Amit Shah will take a dip in Ganga Sagar, perform puja and visit Kapil Muni Ashram. He will also hold roadshows at Behala, West and Hooghly. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has announced a stringent security plan, making it clear that any attempt to disrupt voting or obstruct electors would be dealt with firmly. It said CCTV cameras would be installed at every polling station, central forces would remain deployed at booths, and unauthorized persons would not be allowed within 100 meters of polling premises. Counting will take place on the 4th of May. Well, April 27, 2017 marked a turning point for Indian aviation as Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched UDAN, making air travel affordable. Nearly a decade on, regional connectivity has soared, linking small towns and empowering millions with their first flight. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya has this report.
April 27, 2017. A defining takeoff for India's aviation sector. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the first flight under the UDAN scheme, a mission to make flying affordable for every Indian. And the impact has been massive. In just under a decade, India's airport network has more than doubled from 74 airports in 2014 to over 150 plus airports by 2024, a growth of over 115%. UDAN alone has connected 93 previously unserved and underserved airports, including heliports and even water airdromes. The scheme has operationalized over 640 routes, linking remote towns to major cities and unlocking regional growth. But the biggest success story, the passengers. From zero in 2017, UDAN flights have carried more than 1.5 crore passengers across 3.2 lakh flights, bringing first-time flyers into the aviation ecosystem. In fact, the scheme has helped turn India into one of the fastest growing aviation markets in the world, expanding access beyond metros. Small towns are now on the aviation map, tourism has surged, business are better connected. From remote airstrips to rising skylines, UDAN didn't just launch flights, it connected aspirations. A vision that gave India new wings and millions their first flight. From a single flight in 2017 to hundreds of routes today, the UDAN scheme has brought air travel within the reach of millions of people. With more airports and record passenger growth, India's aviation story is truly taking off. With camera-person Vicky, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
And on to some sports news now. Sebastian Sawe of Kenya broke the 2-hour mark for the first time in history today while winning the London Marathon. The defending champion was locked in a tight battle with Ethiopia's Yomuf Kejelcha in the closing stages, but he surged ahead and crossed the line in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 30 seconds. Kejelcha also completed the race under 2 hours with a time of 1 hour, 59 minutes and 41 seconds, while Uganda's Jacob Kiplomo finished third. All three finished under the previous world record of 2 hours and 35 seconds set in Chicago in 2023 by the late Kelvin Kiptum. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's Tigst Assefa defended her London Marathon crown, breaking her own world record. The reigning Olympic and world silver medalist was locked in three-way tussle but pulled away in the closing stages to cross the line in 2 hours, 15 minutes, 41 seconds. While Rinku Singh guided Kolkata Knight Riders to a comfortable victory over the Lucknow Super Giants on Sunday in the first super over of the ongoing Indian Premier League in Lucknow. With LSG needing 7 off the final ball, Mohammad Shami smashed a 6-over long off to take the match into the super over. Earlier, Mohsin Khan picked up a 5-wicket haul before Rinku Singh's unbeaten 50 gave KKR a fighting score. Mohsin returned figures of 5 for 23 to dent the KKR batting lineup, but Rinku's 83 not out of 51 balls, laced with 7 fours and 5 sixes, led KKR's fight back. He smashed 4 sixes in the final over, bowled by Digvesh Singh Rathi, propelling KKR to 155 for 7. In the second innings, the KKR bowlers performed in unison and put LSD under pressure before Shami's last ball heroics took the game into the super over. LSD only managed to score a run in the super over, setting a target of 2 runs for KKR. In reply, Rinku slammed a 4 on the first ball to seal the match for KKR. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.